Account creation. User story. As a user, I want to be able to create an account with unique credentials. For this demonstration, we will first show the error. If we enter a pre-created account and attempt to make an account, we will get an error message. There is already an account with this email or user ID. If we look to the console, we can see that the error message has been displayed as the database has returned an entry with the same information already present within an array. If we have a look at the header, we can see that the database is listed correctly under the request URL and the information has been sent to the right place. We can also view the response to see the array that the database has sent back with the existing credentials. If we now go back to our account and change the letter K to H and attempt to make an account, we can see that it was successful, as in the console the data has been submitted, and in the header and response we can see the same information. Now if we transition over to the database and refresh the table, we can see that a new user account for Sally H has been created. Profile creation. User story. As a user, I want to be able to create a personalized profile with all my relevant details. We would then press the Create Tutor button. This has now created a profile associated with the account created in another demonstration. If we go over to the header for this request, we can see the URL it was sent to is correct and it was sent to the users table in our database. When we look at the response, we can see the information that we entered has been successfully sent in an array to the database. In the console log, we can see that the data was submitted and we can view the array as it was sent to the database. With the message, these are the credentials of the user. If we transition over to the database now, and we refresh the users table, we can see that the newly created Sally H profile is correctly saved with all of the information we entered in the front end. This is the demonstration for the login feature. User story. As a user, I would like to be able to log into the application with my own unique credentials. So for the purpose of this demonstration, we prepared some dummy data that we are going to use in this test. So first, if we enter the email and an incorrect password, and then attempt to log in, we can see that we receive an error. If we navigate over to the header, we can see the network correctly sent the information to the database. We can see that due to the incorrect information, the database transmitted an empty array back. We can see this in the console as well, where the response from the server with the incorrect credentials is sent as empty, resulting in a password or email is incorrect error. If we transition over to the database, we can see the correct credentials needed for this demonstration and the correct password and email. So if we now take this information and enter it correctly into the login page with the same email and the password being Sally H and login, we can now see in the header that once again, when the credentials were sent, it was sent correctly through the server, and in the response, we get an array back filled with the correct credentials that the page has compared with the database, allowing us to log in. We can also see in the console, response from the server with credentials sent and the correct credentials on display with an array length of tutor search page. User story. As a user, I should be able to see a list of all available tutors. For the sake, restart, tutor search page. User story. As a user, I should be able to see a list of all the available tutors. This is our tutor search page, and it is populated with demonstration data for the purposes of this demo. When the page first loads, a request is sent to the database from the front end that populates the page with a list of tutors taken straight from the database. If we look at the header, we can see the request URL and that it is working correctly in transmitting the data. When we look at the response, we can see a list of all the tutors we currently have listed within our database being transmitted and received correctly. We can also see this in the console, where a console message of "this is the list of all tutors" followed by an array with all the information from the database being displayed correctly on the front end page. Tutor search. User story. As a user, I should be able to search for tutors according to my requirement. Once the page has loaded a full set of data from the database, we can apply filters to narrow the search results to our liking. For the first search, we are going to search for the tag HTML with the hourly rate of 70 and the rating set to 5 stars. Once we click search, we can see that the page has filtered out the results according to our filters. If we go over to the header, we can see the request was sent to the correct local host on which our server communicates with the database, with the filters applied of an hourly rate of 71, with a 5-star rating and a tag of HTML. Once we go over to the response, we can see that the server and database have responded with all of the information kept in the database for all of the entries that fall within our filters. In the console log, we can see that the filters have been applied correctly, as the number of stars, hourly rate, and tags have all been transmitted correctly, and a list of filtered tutors has been sent back to the front end, containing all the relevant information within an array to display on the front end page. We will now perform a second search for our demonstration with the tag MSC, the hourly rate of 60, and 3 stars as the rating. We can see that once again the information has been sent from the front end through the filters to the back end. If we have a look at the headers, we can see that the request was sent to the correct URL with the correct filters applied, and the response that we received from the server and database shows the one listing that falls within our filtered result. In the console, we can see the number of stars, the rating, and the tags have been correctly applied, and the database has responded with an array containing one element. User profile, user story. As a user, I would like to be able to view a tutor's profile with details. For this demonstration, we have some demo data already set up. If we click on the first tutor, Seran, and open his profile, we can see that a request is sent from the front end to the database through the server. We can see this through the header, where the request is sent to the correct URL through the server to the users table to get the information on Seran. We can also look at the response, which shows the information that was received by the front end from the database, showing all the relevant information that is needed to be displayed on the tutor profile. In the console, we can see the average user rating and all of the relevant information that has been sent to display on the tutor profile. Tutor profile, user story. As a user, I would like to communicate with a tutor. From the previous demonstration, we loaded a tutor profile. When the tutor profile is loaded, a request is sent from the front end through the server to the database to retrieve the relevant information for a tutor's profile. We can see in the header for this page that the request was sent to the correct URL to the database to check the table known as user for all of the information for the Seran tutor profile. In the response, we can see that the database sent back all of the relevant information, including the email. Using this data, specifically the email, when we click the contact button, it opens up a mailbox with the email address for the tutor already entered in and ready for communication. Tutor profile, component, average user rating, user story. As a user, I would like to see the feedback on a tutor in an interactive way. Due to an issue, we were unable to implement the feedback component. So we will be using the Insomnia tool to push a rating directly from the server into the database. For this demonstration, we have created a post request in Insomnia that sends a rating of 1 to the tutor that we are currently viewing. When we send this post, we can see that a rating of 1 has been sent to the database, and it will be reflected in the tables as shown. When we go back to the front end, a calculation takes place in the back end that takes all of the user's ratings and computes an average. The average can be returned as a float. In that case, for the stars to appear as wholes, it is passed as an integer, allowing us to view the changes in the stars and in the rating. If we head over to the header, we can see when the page is loaded that the stars are correctly requested from the URL feedback and the feedback table in the database. When going to the response, we can see the past information of the whole integers for the stars is being displayed correctly, both in the response and on the interactive stars displayed on the front end page. In the console, we can see a console message where it displays the average rating of the tutor is 2. Bookings. User stories. As a user, I want to be able to view available dates and times for individual or group sessions so that I can choose the most convenient time for me. As a user, I want to be able to select the type of session I want, face-to-face or virtual, so that I can choose the most suitable option for me. As a user, I want to see the confirmation message of my booking after I book the session so that I can be sure that my session or lecture is scheduled. As a user, I want to see a booking failed message if I could not complete the booking. For this demonstration, we will be booking a face-to-face group session on the date of April 1st at 5 p.m. When we click book now, we can see a successful booking has taken place, and in the network we can see that a booking message has been sent. When we look at the header, we can see that it was sent to the correct URL that corresponds with the table in our database for bookings, and in the response we can see the data that was sent. If we now transition over to the database and go to the bookings table, we can see the new booking that we just made has appeared within the database.